I know all of you know me. Tunay and I are like, it's a big part of me. So I'm just going to say a few things about myself. Tunay or inception lende, we've all been a team together. All the faces that you see, நாங்கெல்லாம் கூட இருந்திருக்கோம். இத கூடவே வளர்த்திருக்கோம். It has been about 1.5 years journey. என்னை பத்தி சொல்லணும்னா, at the heart of it, I'm an artist, I'm a dancer, I'm a Bharatanatyam dancer. That's how it all started. But professionally, I am a dance and movement therapist, and also I do a lot of other forms of therapies, and in the process of getting my master's degree in integrative therapy. So this is just a little bit about myself before we begin. All right. Now, without much, okay. Can I get a thumbs up that you're able to see this? I can't see you.
What about the link?
Yes.
All right, there you are. Now I can see all the videos I can see. So here it is. We are talking about caregiving. We are talking about caring. Caring na enna? Anybody? Care pandrathu enna? What is meaning of care? Anybody can unmute and speak or put it on chat, however you want to do it.
Giving moral support.
Showing love.
Showing love. Giving love.
Giving love. Very
Expressing
moral
your
support.
being concerned about.
Giving
I don't know
moral
how
support.
many of you knows
I
about this
think-
YouTube channel Coco Melon.
Okay, yeah. All mothers know it, yes. Okay, so somebody's Ore nimsho, somebody's audio is causing a little disturbance. Yeah, now it's okay. Thank you very much. Yes. So in short, we all understood what is care. Care, it's a way of expressing that we love somebody, that we care for someone, we want to be there for somebody. All right answers, right? Caregiving is something there where you become a provider in some way to the person in the situation. Correct? Right. So this brings us to the question as to why are we all here? We are here because of RSRM project. We are here because can you see my whole screen? Subhashri, Maria, can you give me a thumbs up? Thank you very much. So why are we here? We are here because we all believe that we in some form can do that part of giving care. Can I get a thumbs up for that? Or does anybody feel that? Right? That's why we are here. Right? And when we are here, when Aparna is here, when Steffi is here, their pictures are there on my tiles. I'm taking their name. When you are here, you're also playing a lot of roles personally, right? You are somebody's mom, you're somebody's sister, you're somebody's daughter-in-law. You also have a profession. A lot of you are professionally pursuing your career, right? So what are you doing here? If you already have something to do, you're doing here. You're here because you want to do something, right? And why is that? Because we are driven by a value system or the belief or the innate feeling that we want to extend ourselves to do something because we hold values. Those values could be the value of dignity, respect, probably because you feel that being empathic is important, or it is a commitment that you have towards the society. All of these values are packaged into that one person, which is you, which you are extending as a caregiver for this project. We are very thankful to have each and every one of you here, because in some way we are all doing this as a plus one. Why? Because we are just taking one extra step to be also doing this. So for that, if you're not already appreciating yourselves, I would suggest this is the right time. please start appreciating, acknowledging that what you're doing is fabulous, and we appreciate you. You appreciate yourself, right? Now, in the image, Vandri, if you see this image, I find this very powerful. So there is, let's take it as like a story of a family, right? இவர் வந்து இங்க வந்து ஐ லவ் யூ சொல்றாரு ஒருத்தர் கழவர்னு வச்சுக்கலாம் நம்ம. just like that, we just think it like that. அவர் வந்து ஐ லவ் யூ சொல்லும் போது எல்லாரும் ஓடி வராங்க பாருங்க. அவர் வந்து ஐ நீட் சம்திங், ஐ நீட் கேஸ்னா and that means fuel. அவர் சொல்லும் போது சில பேர் போறாங்க, சில பேர் வராங்க. So some people who have, they come, right? I need the money ன்னு சொல்லும் போது இன்னும் கம்மி பேர் வராங்க. பட் ஐ எம் சிக் ன்னு சொல்லும் போது பாருங்க எத்தனை பேர் வராங்க? one person is going, right?
No, especially COVID positive na sonna no one will come. That is
இல்ல நான் கோவிட் வரைக்கும் போகல. நான் I'm just telling in general, ஒரு sick person பாத்துக்கிறதுக்கு we know how many people turn towards doing that. Probably just one, right? And that is what caregiving is all about. It takes just
one second, ma'am. If it is continuously, அதாவது if it is for long time process, அப்பதான் ப்ராப்ளம் வருது. sick person bedridden ஆயிட்டாங்கன்னா அவங்கள டேக் கேர் பண்றதுக்கு தான் long process அப்படிங்கும்போது தான் everyone are getting tired.
Of course, definitely. Burnout agada செய்யும். When you become a primary caregiver, அது நிச்சயமா ஆகதா செய்யும். It is a very natural thing in the process, because you are taking care of yourself, your body, and also extending yourself to the other person. அது நம்ம personal life, இப்போ personal lifeல all of us are caregivers. Agree, disagree? Everybody is a caregiver, right? Steffi is now the caregiver, primary caregiver of a person.
Yes.
Right? Of a little person who has come into her life. She probably was caregiver for her husband. Her husband was her caregiver, right? Before the child came into the picture. So we are all caregivers in some way or the other, right? We are extending ourselves in some way or the other. But what is the difference between that one person who turned back to the person who says I'm sick is when the person is asking in need and we turn back or we turn up for the person, that shows that we are self-motivated in some way. Something in us is telling us that, oh, somebody needs me. I can provide what they need, and we choose to go back and help that person, right? So what are the motivations? The few things that came to my head when I was thinking of all of you is what is the motivation that you are all here is probably to learn what MMH is, what maternal mental health is, to understand or get proper experience, a pro experience being in the hospital facility, to help each other, to feel a sense of fulfillment because you have some time. What else could be your motivation? You can use the chat box if you don't want to unmute. What else can be the motivation? Helen says understanding their feelings for the earlier question. Okay. What else could be a motivation for one? Did I miss something? I could think of these.
கஷ்டம் மத்தவங்களும் அனுபவிக்க கூடாது. So empower பண்றதுக்கு
empathy. That's a very empathic thought. நான் பட்ட கஷ்டம், correct. Being very empathetic is நான் படுற கஷ்டம் இன்னொருத்தர் படக்கூடாது. எனக்கு வந்து பிரெக்னன்சில இவ்வளவு ப்ராப்ளம் இருந்துச்சு, அதனால இது வந்து இன்னொருத்தர் படக்கூடாது. Right? That's a great motivation. Right. Now we are coming to the major part of what we are going to talk about today. Very quickly, without thinking. And either on the super fastest finger first madri pananum. 3 people that you really love in this world. Quickly. 3 people you love in this world. Just think, you don't have to tell it.
My mom, dad, my kids.
Very good. You don't have to tell me. Good. Thank you for sharing. Okay, யோசிச்சிட்டீங்களா? Okay, I can't see many people's videos, so I'm just seeing only the few that are here. Okay. எல்லாருமே யோசிச்சீங்க இல்லையா? 3 names. இந்த 3 namesல நீங்க உங்க பேரு யாரெல்லாம் சூஸ் பண்ணீங்க? கை தூக்குங்க. எல்லாம் சிரிக்கிறீங்களே.
No.
So you're not a person.
My mom's mindல நான் இருக்கேன். என் டாட்டரோட மைண்ட்லயும் நான் இருக்கேன்.
அது சாக்கு.
Included.
Who is this?
This is Amuda.
Okay, hi Amuda. I can't see you, but thanks for sharing. Yes, அம்மாவோட மைண்ட்ல நான் இருக்கேன். அது அம்மா சொல்லணும். but நான் நம்ம மைண்ட் பத்தி பேசுறேன், right?
Yes, of course.
Right?
I love myself because
அது correct, understood that. But did you think of it when the first three names were told?
when you asked, I didn't think, but I love myself. அது வந்து default அது.
By default, yes, but we didn't think of it, right?
Yes, that is true.
Right. That is because there's no reason. The reason is that when we acknowledge our own presence, our body, our thoughts, our mind, our positive, our negative, our strength, our weaknesses, that is just the acknowledgement that you exist, the acknowledgement that you are here with me and you're the only kind I have, because there is no second you. When that comes and you start appreciating what you have, that acknowledging leads to something that I want to call as the intention, right? When you acknowledge that உங்ககிட்ட என்கிட்ட வந்து அந்த திறமை இருக்கு, அந்த ஃபீலிங் இருக்கு, இன்னொருத்தருக்கு ஹெல்ப் பண்றதுக்கு என்கிட்ட அந்த சாய்ஸ் இருக்கு, இல்ல என்கிட்ட அந்த திறமை இருக்கு, நம்ம யோசிக்கும் போது you're acknowledging that you are existing, you are good enough to do something for others, and that intention, that motivation is what matters, right? இதுக்கு வந்து இன்சென்டிவ்னா தெரியுமா? இன்சென்டிவ்னா சம்திங் டு கெயின், ரைட்? இப்ப நம்ம வீட்டுல வந்து சமைச்சிட்டு இருக்கோம், தோசை சுட்டுட்டு இருக்கோம். மை டாட்டர் ஆல்வேஸ் கம்ஸ், அம்மா இது சரியில்லை அது சரியில்லை அப்படின்னா கடுப்பா வரும் எனக்கு. இவ்ளோ பண்ணி போடுற நீ, ஆனா நீ வந்து நல்லா இருக்குன்னு சொல்ல மாட்டேங்கிற, பட் நல்லா இல்லைன்னு தான் சொல்றேன். நிறைய மதர்ஸ் அப்படி ஃபீல் பண்றீங்களா, இல்ல நான் மாத்திரம் தாங்க? we feel like that, we feel very left out, right? But sometimes அவங்க சாப்பிடும் போது அந்த ஸ்பீடை பார்த்து ஆஹா பரவாயில்ல நல்லதான் இருக்குள்ள இருக்கு சாப்பாடுன்னு நினைக்கிறோம். So these are all intangible feelings that we get or intangible incentives that we get, and there are some tangible ones, right? இப்போ MMHல நீங்க ஒர்க் பண்ணும்போது உங்களுக்கு tangible incentive கிடைக்குமோ கிடைக்காதோ கிடைக்கும். intangible incentives அது நம்மளாதான் தேடிக்கணும். intangible incentives non-verbals கிடைக்கும். அவங்க சிரிச்சா, அவங்க நம்ம சர்வீஸ் நம்ம எதனா சொல்றோம், அது அவங்க எஸ் அப்படின்னு பண்றாங்க. there is a change of thought. We did the intensive 12-hour session, changing negative to positive. அதுல ஒரு பர்சன் பண்ணா கூட it is a great achievement, and Dr. Nadia was always emphasizing, if one mother changes, it's a great thought, and that is an incentive. How can the incentive come from another person if you don't believe that you acknowledge and your intentions are good? I acknowledge this body. I am making a difference in her life. I am making a difference in the life of that unborn child, right? So therefore, intention, acknowledging, appreciation. Incentives is what we get or we may not get. But what happens? What happens when you don't get appreciated for what you do? For a hospital setting, when we are working, there may be many instances where, எவ்வளோ வந்து தினம் இந்த மாதிரி வாரத்துல வந்து பாரு எனக்கு வந்து ஒன்றும் சரியாவே பண்ணல, சரியாவே we are not able to reach out to the person. இந்த நர்சஸ் வந்து எவ்வளவு சொன்னாலும் they are not listening தோணும், சில நாள் அப்படி தோணும். But those days, let's go back to your intention. நான் ஏன் இந்த ப்ராஜெக்ட்ல வந்தேன் is to make difference to that one person, because I want to acknowledge that என்னாலதான் முடியும். So that intention is very important. Now why am I talking? So இது வந்து இப்போ நம்ம வந்து சிஸ்டம் அப்ரிஷியேட் பண்ணல, ஹாஸ்பிட்டல் செட்டிங்ல வந்து there is no difference அப்படின்னு நம்மளுக்கு ஃபர்ஸ்ட் இனிஷியல் டேஸ்ல தோணலாம், there is a chance. பட் அப்படி இருக்கும் போது look for support among ourselves, your team, our team, the team that we are going and sitting there. What are the practices that we can do? Gratitude huddle பண்ணலாம், self care routine பண்ணலாம். இத பத்தி நிறைய நம்ம பேசுவோம் upcoming sessionsல, but I just wanted to put a plug, right? But the idea is that unless and until we are self-motivated to be there and make a difference, we are not going to impact much. Right? Make sense? Okay, coming to the important question. ஒரு caregiving processல, இப்போ ஒரு caregiving processல 3 பேர் இருக்காங்க. Okay? 3 people are involved in a caregiving process. One is a primary caregiver. Second is the secondary caregiver. And the third is the person who is receiving the care. Right? Now, who is a primary caregiver? A primary caregiver is a person who is primarily responsible for the person's well-being. Okay, this is by definition. அப்படின்னா ஒரு சின்ன எக்ஸாம்பிள் தரேன். ஒரு ஹாஸ்பிட்டல் செட்டிங்ல இப்போ ஒரு மதர் இருக்கும் போது அவங்க பிரைமரி கேர் கிவர் வந்து ப்ராபப்லி வில் பி ஹர் மதர் இன் லா, ஹர் ஹஸ்பண்ட், right? And she will be the primary caregiver for the child who's born or unborn, correct? Secondary caregiver yaru? Anybody?
The nurses, the doctors,
the staff, avanga ella secondary caregivers, right? And the மூணாவது person வந்து the care recipient, that mother, that person, the person who needs care, who needs support, அவங்க தான் இதுல இருக்கிற third person, right? Now இந்த மூணு பேருமே they have to work in a cohesive manner. சேர்ந்து வேலை செஞ்சாதான் ஒரு ஸ்டர்டி ரிலேஷன்ஷிப் இல்ல ஒரு ஸ்டர்டி கேர் கிவிங் கொடுக்க முடியும், ரைட்? இப்போ வந்து கேர் ரெசிபியன்ட் வந்து இல்ல எனக்கு வந்து நீங்க எல்லாம் சர்வ் பண்ணும், நான் ஸ்டூல் மேல உட்காந்துக்கிறேன், நீங்க 2 பேரும் எனக்கு பண்ணிக்கிட்டே இருங்க, நான் எடுத்துக்கிட்டே இருப்பேன் அப்படின்னு சொன்னா that is a very unhealthy way. இப்போ அமுதா பேசினாங்க இல்லையா, பர்ன் அவுட் ஆகுது, லாங் டியூரேஷனுக்கு பண்ணிட்டே இருக்கேன், எனக்கு sometimes we feel இது அப்படின்னு சொல்றாங்க இல்லையா. That could be possible when the care recipient does not probably fully immerse into the process of caregiving and comes as the person who's sitting on top of the stool saying, hey, enakku pannu. And that will cause a hierarchy. Hierarchy na அதாவது ஒரு மேனேஜர் மாதிரி, நான் இப்படி சொல்றேன், எனக்கு செய்ய, எனக்கு இது சமைச்சு போடு, எனக்கு இது பண்ணி போடு அப்படி. ஒரு கேர் ரெசிபியன்ட் எப்போ இந்த ப்ராசஸ்ல எப்படி அவங்க ஹெல்ப் பண்ணலாம்? நம்ம பேசும்போது நம்ம பேச கேட்கறது, அவங்க நான் வெர்பல் இன்சென்டிவ்ஸ் சொன்னோம் இல்லையா, நான் வெர்பலா அக்னாலேஜ் பண்றது, எஸ் நோ, நம்ம சொல்றது அதை அவங்க பாடியில போட்டுக்கிறது, ஆல் ஆஃப் திஸ் இஸ் த வே தட் தே கேன் டேக் கேர். ஸோ ஒரு ப்ராப்பர் கேர் கிவிங் ப்ராசஸ்ல 3 பேர் இருக்கணும். ஸோ இட் இஸ் a 3-legged stool, right? The primary caregiver, secondary, and the care receiver themselves. இதுல சுப்பீரியர் யாருன்னா இருக்கா? ஏதான ஒரு கால் சின்னது இல்ல பெருசானா என்ன ஆகும்? கவுந்து உழுந்துரும் ஸ்டூல், right? So there is no hierarchy. There is no hierarchy that one is more important than the other, or one has to extend themselves more than the other. 3 பேருமே அவங்க ரோல், அதாவது அந்த ரோல் அந்த ஆக்டிங் நல்லா பண்ணா சினிமா நல்லா இருக்கும் இல்லையா, அதே மாதிரி தான் கேர் கிவிங் ப்ராசஸும் அதே மாதிரி. Now coming to the part where we talk about ஒரு கேர் கிவரா ஆர்த்துக்கு எதனா ஸ்பெஷலா படிக்கணுமா, எதனா ஸ்கில்ஸ் வேணுமா அப்படின்னா, எஸ், there are certain skills which a caregiver is preferred to have, but in a setting of a official setting, in a professional setting, that is true. For example, இப்போ நீங்க if you're going to present this topic to the nurses, which I'm hoping that it will happen now, நீங்க நம்ம எல்லாருமே வந்து நர்சஸ் ஓட தான் நிறைய இன்டராக்ட் பண்ண போறோம். ஒரு நர்ஸ்க்கு என்னெல்லாம் ஸ்கில் தேவை கேர் கிவிங் கொடுக்கறதுக்கு?
பொறுமை,
பேஷன்ஸ், ஓகே, knowledge, correct, very good, that's a good one. They need to know about nursing, they need to be empathetic, soft skills தேவை. They need to have a good time management, they need to have good relations with the doctors, and
they need caring
a caring skill, correct, right? Yes, thank you very much. Yes, they need to have caring skill.
எனக்கு தான் அப்படி கேக்குதுன்னு நினைச்சேன்.
ஓகே, நான் பேசுறது நல்லா கேக்குதா?
Okay.
Yeah, clear.
Okay, good. Right. So there are certain skills associated with caregiving, right? Now, we are not professionals in caregiving. So நம்ம என்ன பெருசா பண்ணிட போறோம் அங்க? We are going to make a big difference because our presence is going to help in these 3 big ways. First one is communication. அதனால தான் நான் அது போல்ட்ல போட்டிருக்கேன். Communication, we are going to be present to receive what they say. We are going to be empathic listeners. We are going to be active listeners, right? active listening பத்தி நம்ம நிறைய படிச்சோம் டாக்டர் நாஜியாஸ் ட்ரைனிங். அண்ட் ஃபார் தோஸ் ஹூ டிட் நாட் அட்டெண்ட், கம்யூனிகேஷன் சொல்லும் போது நம்ம பேச்சு கூட தேவையில்லை. நம்ம பாடி, நம்ம அங்க போய் உக்காந்தாலே போதும். அவங்க சொல்றதை நம்ம காதால கேட்டா போதும். அவங்க பேசும்போது அவங்க கண் பார்த்து புரியுதுமா, சோ சாரி யூ கோயிங் த்ரூ திஸ், அது போதும். இந்த 4 வார்த்தை கேட்டாலே அவங்களுக்கு ஆறுதலா இருக்கும். யோ someone is listening to my problems. This is active listening, right? We will do more about active listening and solar F ellame which Dr. Najia said. Adu detail நம்ம practice பண்ணுவோம் in the upcoming session, right? But I just wanted to give you a hint of பெருசா ஒன்னும் ஸ்கில் தேவையில்லைங்க. ஒரு நல்ல மனசு அண்ட் கத்துக்கிற உணர்வு, இது மாத்திரம் இருந்தா போதும். ஆனா அது போதுமா? ஆகும். இப்போ நம்ம ஒரு கேர் கிவிங் செட்டிங்ல போகும்போது ஓகேவா, வந்து ஒரு கோட் ஆஃப் கான்டாக்ட் வந்து நிறைய ஒரு டாக்குமெண்ட் நம்ம எல்லாரும் பார்த்தோம். ஒரு கோட் ஆஃப் கான்டாக்ட், அதாவது இப்படி பண்ணும் அப்படி பண்ணும், ஒரு ரெஸ்பான்சிபிலிட்டிஸ் இப்படி இருக்கு அப்படி இருக்கு. இப்போ ரெஸ்பான்சிபிலிட்டிஸ்னா என்ன, அக்கௌண்டபிலிட்டினா என்ன? இப்போ ஒரு குழந்தைக்கு எஸ் ப்ளீஸ் கோ அஹெட்.
ரெஸ்பான்சிபிலிட்டிஸ் கமிட்மெண்ட்னு சொல்லலாம். வரும் இந்த டைத்துக்குன்னா பி பிரசன்ட் தேர் ஃபார் தேம்.
Okay. Somebody else was saying something.
Yes, responsible na we have to do our duty.
Duty.
குழந்தைக்கு இந்த டைம் பசிக்கும் அப்படின்னு, அதான் குழந்தை பசிக்குதுன்னு கேட்டு நம்ம சாப்பாடு கொடுக்க கூடாது. அவளுக்கு பசிக்கும்ன்றதுக்கு முன்னாடியே கொடுத்துடணும். I mean இந்த time management, அதெல்லாத்தையும் we have to prepare everything. That is
right. That's a personal choice. Correct. Okay, right. சரி, I'll take the same analogy. இப்போ வந்து உங்க குழந்தை, உங்க பேபி அழுது அப்படின்னா பால் குடுக்கறதுக்கு யார் ரெஸ்பான்சிபிள்? இப்போ உங்க கசினோட குழந்தை வந்திருக்கு, அது பேபேன்னு அழுது, அதுக்கு யார் ரெஸ்பான்சிபிள்? கசின்.
No, cousin.
But அந்த cousin இல்ல,
guest வந்துட்டு we have to, are you hungry அப்படின்னு we have to feed,
right? We become சரி. இப்போ இந்த கசின் இல்லாம போகும்போது நம்ம அந்த குழந்தைக்கு பசிக்குதுன்னு சாப்பாடு போட்டுடுறோம். Correct? That is a responsibility. But we become accountable to the cousins, to the child's parents who are your cousins, that we tell them that உன் குழந்தை வந்து பசிக்குதுன்னு கேட்டுச்சுப்பா, நான் வந்து இப்படி ஒரு 2 சப்பாத்தி பண்ணி போட்டுட்டேன் அப்படின்னு. Now do you understand the difference? The difference is actually very subtle. Now in a caregiving setting, there are a few things that we are responsible for.
Second இதுல வந்து we are not responsible, we are caring. அதாவது என்ன சொல்றது, we are honoring the guest ன்னு சொல்லலாம். இல்லனா we are
அமுதா, right?
Yeah,
correct. அமுதா, I beg to yeah, I agree with what you're saying. ஒரு சின்ன twist தான். In the second situation we are responsible as well as accountable. நம்ம ரெஸ்பான்சிபிள் ஏன்னா நம்ம வீட்டுல அவங்க கெஸ்டா வந்திருக்காங்கன்னு நீங்க ஒரு எக்ஸாம்பிள் கொடுத்தீங்க, நான் அதே எக்ஸாம்பிள் எடுத்துக்கிறேன். சோ நம்ம வீட்டுல நம்ம சாப்பாடு நம்ம தானே போட முடியும், அது அந்த ரெஸ்பான்சிபிலிட்டி. பட் ஆனா with that you become also accountable for giving the status to the parent of the child who has taken food. இல்லையா, அவ சாப்பாடு சாப்பிட்டானே சொல்லல, நீ நான் வேற இன்னும் சாப்பாடு ஊட்டிவிட்டு அப்புறம் என் பொண்ணு ஃபுல்லா வாந்தி எடுத்துட்டா. Possible, right?
Yes, correct.
That accountability
we have to inform.
That accountability is there, right? So இப்போ என்னோட ஃபேவரட் எக்ஸாம்பிள் நான் கொடுக்குறேன். இப்போ இப்போ நீங்க தனியா இருந்தீங்க, உங்களுக்கு கல்யாணம் பண்ணிக்கல, ஜாலியா ஆஹா அப்படின்னு யோசிக்கிறாங்க ஸ்டெஃபி. So இப்போ நம்ம தனியா when we are alone and we don't do the laundry, துணி துவைக்கல ரொம்ப நாளா இருக்கு, right? It is our responsibility to wash our clothes. But are we accountable to anybody? We are only accountable to ourselves, right? But ஆனா இதே வந்து நான் என்னோட 11-year-old பொண்ணுகிட்ட துணி வாஷுக்கு போட்டுருவோம், துணி துவைச்சு போட்டுரு அப்படின்னு நான் சொன்னேன்னா she is accountable to me because நான் அவளுக்கு அந்த ரெஸ்பான்சிபிலிட்டி கொடுத்திருக்கேன். புரியுதா? Right? While there is no hierarchy, when there is a task which is allotted, you become accountable for it. பெருசா ஒன்னும் கான்செப்ட் எல்லாம் சொல்லல, ஒரு வெரி சின்ன விஷயம். இப்போ நம்ம ஹாஸ்பிட்டல் செட்டிங்ல இருக்கும் போது எதுக்கெல்லாம் நம்மளுக்கு அக்கௌண்டபிலிட்டி? அங்க மதர்ஸ் கிட்ட நம்ம ஃபுல்லி பிரசண்டா இருக்குமா, அவங்க நீட் நம்ம ப்ராஜெக்ட் நம்ம பிளான் மரியா சொன்ன பிளான் ப்ராஜெக்ட் கோஆர்டினேட்டர் பிளான் பண்ண மாதிரி ஏகம் சொன்ன பிளான் பண்ண மாதிரி இன்னைக்கு நம்ம எல்லாம் டெலிவர் பண்ணிருக்கோமா அப்படின்னு we are accountable for that, ரைட்? நம்ம எம்பாத்திக்கா இருக்க சொல்றாங்க, ஜாஸ்தி அவங்கள சேடா பேசக்கூடாதுன்னு சொன்னாங்க, டிஃபிகல்ட் அண்ட் பாசிட்டிவ் பத்தி சொன்னாங்க, அதெல்லாம் செஞ்சோமா? That is an accountability because it is a task in your hand which you have to hold. This is our role in TNP. But there is a bigger responsibility, the responsibility towards yourself. And that needs to surpass the other needs because hospital setting la kashthama irkalam. There may be settings where you will be put in discomfort physically, mentally, emotionally, right? Adu eppadi aware ஆகுறது, how to be sure that எனக்கு it's triggering me in this setting, எனக்கு it is bringing thoughts which are making it difficult for me to stay. That is self-preservation. ஞாபகம் இருக்கா? ஆண்ட்ரியா செஷன்ல இத பத்தி நம்ம எக்ஸ்டென்சிவா பேசினோம். how to build self-preservation, அவங்க நிறைய டெக்னிக்ஸ் சொல்லி கொடுத்தாங்க. Self-preservation is very essential when we go to the setting in the TNPN project. இன்னைக்கு நான் சரியா இருக்கேனா? when I started this session I said இதுல இருந்தாதான் அங்க வரும். ஒரு சின்ன கதை சொல்றேன். I love telling stories. So ஒரு ராஜா பிரம்மணத்துக்கு போனாராம். அவரு வில்லேஜ்ல கிங்டம்ல இந்த மாதிரி என்னதான் இது நடக்குதுன்னு பாக்கலாம் அப்படின்ட்டு போனாராம். போயிட்டு ஒரு கழுவி சமைச்சிட்டு இருந்தா போல இருக்கு. கிச்சன்ல டமால் சத்தம் வந்துட்டு இருந்தது. ஒரு ஒரே பசி. சோ இவருதான் டிஸ்கைஸ்ல போயிருக்காரு. அவர் ஒரு புவர் பெக்கர் மாதிரி போயிருக்காரு. அவர் அம்மா சாப்பாடு போடு அப்படின்னு சொல்றா. உடனே இந்த ஆயா சரி சரி இருப்பா அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு ஒரே ஒரு டம்ளர் மோர் எடுத்து கொடுக்குறாப்புல. அவருக்கு செம்ம கோவம் வருது. நீ இன்னும் உள்ள எவ்வளவு உருட்டிட்டு இருக்க, டப்பா டப்பான்னு சத்தம் வந்துட்டு இருக்கு, நிறைய ஏதோ குக்கிங் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்க மாதிரி இருக்கு, நீ சமைச்சிட்டு இருக்க மாதிரி இருக்கு, எனக்கு மாத்திரம் ஒரே ஒரு டம்ளர் மோர் தர, சாப்பாடு போட மாட்டியா, உனக்கு நல்ல மனசு இல்லையா அப்படின்னு. அப்ப இந்த ஆயா சொன்னாலாம், இந்த மாதிரி நான் சமையல் பண்ணலப்பா, வெறும் தண்ணி தான் சுட பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கேன். அந்த சட்டியில இருந்தா தானேப்பா நான் உனக்கு இங்க தர முடியும். சோ சட்டியில இருந்தா தானே உன்னோட பிளேட்டுக்கு ஆபத்துல வர முடியும்னு. that is the story, that is it's a folk tale. It's a folk tale that we say. சட்டியில இருந்தா தானே ஆப்பையில வரும்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. அப்படிதான் இந்த கதை வந்தது. நமக்குள்ள நம்ம நல்லா இருந்து நம்ம செல்ஃப் ப்ரிசர்வ் பண்ணாதான் we can deliver everything that you are learning as a task. Make sense?
Yeah, yes. Even I love to hear stories.
Most welcome. I'll tell you more. Okay. Right. On that note, இப்போ நம்ம 3 leg stool பத்தி பேசினோம். caregiver, primary caregiver, secondary caregiver and the care recipient. இப்போ இந்த 4வது ஒரு கால் நம்ம போட்டிருக்கோம் பாத்தீங்களா? இந்த 4வது கால் தான் செல்ஃப் கேர். நம்மளோட கேர் எடுத்துட்டு நம்ம பாடி, நம்மளோட மைண்ட், நம்ம எமோஷன்ஸ் நம்ம பாதுகாக்கும் போதுதான் we will be available for others. நம்ம வெசல்ல இருந்தாதான் நம்ம இன்னொருத்தருக்கு எக்ஸ்டெண்ட் பண்ணணும். Does it make sense? So 3 leg stool ஸ்டடி தான், பட் 4 leg stool தான் பெட்டர் இல்ல? இப்ப நம்ம குழந்தைக்கு நம்ம 3 leg stool ஓகே சொல்வீங்களா, 4 leg stool மேலே ஏற சொல்வீங்களா? 4 leg stool தானே? The same principle for us, right? All right. எப்படி பண்ணலாம்? How do we do this? How do we take care of ourselves? Through this workshop, through these sessions, இன்னைக்கு session also, we will be teaching, or teaching is a wrong word, I apologize for using it. We will be learning concepts which will help us to manage with our secondary stress, right? மஹிமா இத பத்தி ஒரு செஷன் பண்ண போறாங்க. And interact more with the people in the group. நம்மளோட facilitators, all the people who are there with the same intention to be a part of the Tainalam Pudunalam, all of the ACAM, எல்லாருமே ACAM staff, all the support system, எல்லாரும் கூட நின்று எனக்கு இப்படி தோணுது, come back to your project coordinator and say, Maria, I'm not feeling good, especially எனக்கு இது சரி படல, அதனால இன்னைக்கு I'm not feeling a little okay. and I want to step down இன்னைக்கு, I want to come another day. It's important because நீங்க வந்து if you go with a bad mood, you will not be able to deliver anything constructive in that setting. Right? Right. ஒரு சின்ன practice. Right? Every time you step into the hospital setting, or every time நீங்க வந்து you're going there to make yourself available as a caregiver in that hospital setting, if we can do something called tapping in. Right? Tapping in na tap பண்றதுன்னா இப்படி சொல்றோம் இல்லையா, தொட்டு பார்த்து இல்ல ஒரு கான்சியஸ்னஸ் கொண்டு வருது. Tapping in is a self-check system. Right? Before you enter the setting, am I feeling okay? இன்னைக்கு நடந்து காலையில வந்து I had a fight with my husband. Is it going to affect me? Have I made peace with that? இன்னைக்கு பஸ்ல வரும்போது it's so stressful. Can I just take probably 1 cup of coffee or just drink some juice and make myself feel better? Take a moment to be aware about what your thoughts are, what your emotions are at that point of time. Right? And very importantly, what is your energy level? Right? Because if you're going to feel drained, and if you're not eaten, you're drained, and you are going to be there for somebody in a setting like this, it is only going to trigger difficult emotions in you. Everything that happens will only give a key to trigger all unnecessary thoughts, unnecessary reactions. Right? சொல்வாங்க இல்லையா, நல்லா சாப்பிட்டுட்டு போனாதான் you'll be able to do anything properly, something like that. So when your energy levels are good, you are available for yourself, and then you are available for the other person. Right? It is not only in a setting of the Thainalam Puthulalam or in the hospital setting. This is in general. நம்ம நல்லா சாப்பிட்டாதான் நம்ம குழந்தைங்களை நல்லா பாத்துக்க முடியும். நம்ம பட்னியா இருந்து குழந்தை சாப்பிடாம இருந்தா எவ்வளவு கோபம் வரும், எனக்கு வரும். I'm sure all mothers will agree, right? Right. Okay, ஒரு சின்ன round up. Okay, I just request to not
Smita, 1 minute.
Unmute. Yes.
Participants, please, can you please mute your mic, because others getting disturbed.
கரெக்ட். நீ பாதி நான் பாதி கரெக்ட் தான், நல்ல பாட்டு தான். பட் நம்ம பாதியை நம்ம நல்லா பாதுகாக்கணும், அதுதான் ரொம்ப இம்பார்ட்டன்ட். கரெக்டா? ஆல் ரைட். ஓகே, thank you for staying with me. This was like only the part 1 that we did. Idile any questions, any sharing, anything that you want to talk about, please go ahead. This is a good time. I think Amuda ஏதோ சொல்லிட்டு இருந்தாங்க. I kind of she could not complete what she was saying.
இல்ல இது
right. So இந்த கேர் கிவர்ங்கிற ஒரு டேர்ம் வந்து நம்ம ஆஃபனா யூஸ் பண்றோம் இல்லையா? ரைட். இப்ப நான் நிறைய கேர் கிவர்னு நிறைய சொன்னேன். I spoke about giving, and இது ரொம்ப சிம்பிளா நீங்க ஸ்ட்ரக்சர் பண்ணி சொன்னீங்க. கேர் வந்து ஒருத்தருக்கு வந்து நம்ம அக்கறை இருக்கு அப்படின்னு சொல்லி நம்ம காட்டுறதுதான் ஒரு கேர் கிவிங். ரொம்ப சிம்பிளான விஷயம். ரைட். இத பத்தி இதுல சிம்பிளான விஷயம். ஓகே, இதுல இப்போ after you went through the first part of the presentation, what is your major takeaway in this?
I couldn't get you. Major?
What is your major takeaway? அதாவது இப்போ கேர் கிவிங் வந்து ஒரு சிம்பிளான கான்செப்ட் புரிஞ்சுது. பட் இப்போ நம்ம பார்த்ததுல உங்களோட மேஜரா நீங்க எடுத்துட்ட பாயிண்ட் என்ன?
நீ முதல்ல ஒன்ன பாத்துக்கோ, அப்புறம் மத்தவங்கள பாத்துக்கலாம்.
Can I say?
Yeah.
ஒரு நீங்க சொன்ன மாதிரி தனக்கு போகதான் தானும் தர்மம் சொல்ற மாதிரி, என்ன நான் பாத்துக்கிட்ட எனக்கு நான் கேர் கொடுத்தாதான் எனக்கு அந்த மைண்ட் ஒரு ஃப்ரெஷ்ஷா இருக்கும். நான் ஒர்க் பண்ற இடமும் ஒரு பாசிட்டிவ் வைபா இருக்கும்.
ரைட். ரொம்ப சிம்பிள். கரெக்ட். அப்சல்யூட்லி. Thank you, Steffi, for sharing. Thank you. I think that was Amuda. Thank you for sharing. Care giving. ஒரு கிவ் பண்றதுக்கு நம்ம கிட்ட இருந்தா தானங்க நம்ம கொடுக்க முடியும். அதனால ஒரு கேர் கிவரா இருக்கிறதுக்கு நம்ம ஃபர்ஸ்ட் நம்மளோட கேரரா இருக்கணும். அதுக்கப்புறம் அதை எக்ஸ்டெண்டட் டு த அதர் பர்சன். However, skills that we need to take with us in that particular setting, அது ரொம்ப இம்பார்ட்டன்ட். இப்போ வீட்ல கேர் கிவ் நான் வந்து வீட்ல குழந்தைய பாத்துக்கிறேன், அதனால நான் வந்து டெஸ்ட். பட் பப்ளிக் செட்டிங்ல you can't pour out from an empty cup. Thank you, Sri. Yeah, that's true, right? Can't pour out from an empty cup, right? இப்போ நம்ம வீட்டு செட்டிங் கேர் கிவ் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கோம். நான் இப்ப குழந்தைய நல்லா பாத்துக்கிறேன், என்னோட ஹஸ்பண்ட் எல்லாம் நல்லா இருக்காங்க, வீடு நல்லா ஃபங்க்ஷன் ஆகுது. பட் இன் பப்ளிக் செட்டிங் there is a shift. என்னன்னு சொல்ல முடியுமா?
Family-la there will be some adjustments. If anything goes wrong, we talk to them. We try to understand from their point of view. But when it comes to public setting, it is difficult for us to accept people as they are. Sometimes that may create
right.
Yeah,
that's a very extended thought process. Yes, I don't disagree with you, Steph. It is very extended. I'm speaking very closer to home. What is the basic difference that can?
So personally, நான் என்ன ஃபீல் பண்றேன்னா, in a public setting, the difference between responsibility and accountability ஓட புரிஞ்சாலே நமக்கு அந்த கேர் கிவிங் ஓட இது வந்து
perfect. One of the major difference, yes. Of course, it is the second point, definitely, but still not the first point. The first point is, I'm just going to go ahead and say, the first point is, in a setting where you are a primary caregiver in your home, you are already in your comfort zone. You're already in your safe space. You know what you're doing. But when you go as a caregiver in a secondary setting, imagine what the nurses must be going through every single day when they also are primary caregivers in their own house, and they come and actually do so much work for the people, the mothers, in the delivery table. It's not going to be easy. It's not easy for them, right? They are going to be constantly burned out. They are going to feel, இவங்க என்ன பெருசா எனக்கு சொல்லிட போறாங்க. It's going to be there, right? Because ஒரு public systemல, first of all, it's not your safe space, right? In your house, we are all the queen of our houses. We are all the queen of our households. We know what we are doing. It's a safe setting. நம்ம கத்தி கதறினா கூட, it's a safe setting, right? But in the public setting, there is an accountability. There is a decorum that we need to maintain. So that should not burn you out. That setting should not burn you out. And that is why tapping in is important. Tapping in to check if you are ready in your internal zone to venture out into a external setting, which is not your safe, which may not be your safe space, or may not be a space where you are accustomed to. I wouldn't say safe space, but accustomed. Right? Okay. Comfort zone. Yes. Thank you, Srividya. Okay. So, எனக்கு கதை சொல்ல பிடிக்கும், நான் முன்னாடியே சொல்லிட்டேன். So, அதனால இன்னொரு கதை. செல்ஃப் அவேர்னஸ் ஓட தமிழாக்கம் சுபஸ்ரீ ஹெல்ப் பண்ண முடியுமா?
அதாவது தன்னிலைய புரிஞ்சுக்கிறது, அதாவது
தன்னிலை அறிதல்.
செல்ஃப் அவேர்.
அதாவது செல்ஃப் அவேர்னஸ் ஒரு சீக்கிரமா ஒரு டெஃபினிஷனா சொல்லணும்னா, இப்ப நான் அதை சொல்ல விரும்பல, பட் ஐ எம் ஜஸ்ட் சேயிங், ஒரு டெஃபினிஷனா சொல்லணும்னா, நம்மளோட பாடி, நம்மளோட எமோஷன்ஸ், நம்ம உள்ள என்ன நடக்குது அண்ட் நம்ம வெளியில என்ன இருக்கு இதுன்னு தெரிஞ்சதுன்னா, it means that the person is self-aware. Remember when Mahima started her practice, அவங்க வந்து she said that, look at the room around, look at this, look at the setting of the wall. அவங்க ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணும்போது அவங்க ஒரு சின்ன அவேர்னஸ், that is a self-awareness practice. Where in a place நீங்க போகும்போது you become aware about where your body is, where you are sitting, where you are standing, right? Was vis-a-vis the spatial பக்கத்துல என்ன இருக்கு, ஏன்குள்ள என்ன நடக்குது. Tapping in is also a self-awareness tool that we do. Okay. So, கதை சொல்றேன்னு சொன்னேன், அதனால கதை சொல்றேன். இலக்கான எனக்கு ஒரு நல்ல ஃப்ரெண்டு. அவங்க வந்து ஒரு ஒரு லோக்கி கிட்டி பார்ட்டின்னு வச்சுக்கலாம், அதுக்கு போயிருந்தாங்க. அங்க வந்து ஒரு கேம் சொன்னாங்க. இந்த மாதிரி யூ ஹாவ் டு டிஸ்கிரைப் யுவர் செல்ஃப் இன் 3 words. உங்களை பத்தி நீங்க 3 வார்த்தையில சொல்லணும் அப்படின்னு அவங்க சொன்னாங்க. இப்போ அந்த மாதிரி கேம் நம்ம விளையாடலாமா? ஓகே. இப்போ டிஸ்கிரைப் யுவர் செல்ஃப் இன் 3 words. You can use your chat box to describe yourself. Probably take 2 minutes.
I'm wonderful. Oh.
Yes, you are. Okay, I got only 3 chats. Okay. Oh, chat I'm not able to see. You can use the chat button to write 3 words. Patient, beautiful, responsible, classic, great and wonderful. Okay, great in terms of great in your deeds or great in your thoughts, and wonderful, empathetic, lovable, reachable. Okay. ரொம்ப கஷ்டமான கேள்வி கேட்டுட்டேனோ? எல்லா எக்ஸாம் பேப்பருக்கு யோசிக்கிற மாதிரி 3 வாரத்துக்கு இப்படி யோசிக்கிறீங்க.
Self awareness, Smita. So it requires a practice, right?
It's okay. Perfect. I completely respect what you're saying, Subhashri. Adanaala, if you don't feel like answering that right now, that's also perfectly all right. Funny, empathetic and pretty, multi-talented, talkative and sweet. All lovely, all positive. Very nice. So that just goes to show that we have a set of amazingly self-motivated bunch of women who know where their heart is. They know what their mind is going to direct them to do, which is a great place to be. So thank you for being here, actually. So all great answers. Thank you very much. All right. Okay. So next, what words that you use to describe yourself? Right? Ella, wonderful. சில பேர் வந்து கிரேட் அப்படின்னு எல்லாம் சொன்னீங்க. So இது வந்து now you look at those little circles around you, right? The red ones. So they all fit into any one of these. The role is the role that you play in the society, in the family, or is in your profession. If it is related with your identity, somebody said beautiful, that's an identity, something that makes you stand out. Could be even your caste, right? Your features, beautiful eyes, beautiful voice. Value, what is the value that you attach to yourself? Nariya pere value pati dhaan pesneenga, which is a great start, right? Where you spoke about being kind, empathetic, sweet. I'm assuming sweet as in the adjective sweet, not the sweet, right? And the other part is skill, where good in communication, good in cooking. Somebody said talkative. That's talkative is good in communication, right? Right. And status, where you talk about your marriage, your relation, your state as a mother, your cultural, your gender. All of this is a status, right? So idile where are those 3 words fitting in? Idu neengale paaka vendiyadu. It is only for self introspection. How are we identifying ourselves when we said all of the 3 words? Idukulla enga varudhu? நம்மளே பார்க்க வேண்டியது. The slide is on, நீங்க பார்க்கலாம். So if it is about your role, it is about your identity, it is about your value, skill, status. So this shows which part of you relate with the most. What kind of conversation you are having with yourself? What kind of core belief, what kind of core feelings you have about yourself? What kind of strengths, what kind of weaknesses that you have in you, will fit into all of these categories, right? This is just for our own understanding. It's a self introspection. நம்ம நம்மளையே assess பண்ணிக்கிறது, right? இதுல தப்பு ரைட் எதுவுமே கிடையாது. There is no right or wrong answers. But what is important is we become aware about what is the conversation we are having with ourselves. If you're going to keep thinking that I'm not so beautiful as that my friend, you will never be as beautiful as your friend, even if you look like Aishwarya Rai. Right? Because the conversation that you keep telling yourself is, I'm not as good as that person, keep staying in your core belief. Which was that session, Harita session, Kate Middleton, Kareena Kapoor patti pesinanga. Right? All of us related with it. Ellaru kaiyella thookino that, eppadi pannanga. Why? Yenga paakrom? Yen நம்ம கரீனா கபூர் அப்படி பண்ணாங்க? Forget about the media's attention. Because in our minds, we feel that, Kareena Kapoor வந்து ஒரு level, நல்ல levelல இருக்காங்க, in her looks probably, in her profession. It could be any reason, whatever reason we might have. When we hold a core belief as to we are less or more than somebody or close to somebody or a setting, we create our own conversation with ourselves, right? Now, it is important to be aware about what kind of conversations we are having with ourselves, how we are talking about ourselves to ourselves. In fact, Peter Levin, he's one of very good, very pioneers in trauma therapy, somatic experiencing. He tells that you talk to yourself like how you will talk to your 3-year-old kid. You'll never tell your 3-year-old kid, you look so bad right now. ஏச்சி எவ்வளவு அசிங்கமா இருக்கே நீ, அந்த பாப்பா பாரு எவ்வளவு அழகா இருக்கு. Will be in our good sense? In our good sense, probably not, right? You would not say that in a good sense, right? But if you're saying that, it means that it's difficult. It's a negative thing, but we wouldn't do that, right? So talk to yourself like you would talk to your 3-year-old child, right? Be kind. Be positive, and all your responses are fantastic, all positive responses, which is a great start. So if you're already not, although we all didn't take our names in the people that we love, give yourself a tight hug because you're all being very positive, right? So don't be too harsh on yourself that, I didn't take my name. That's fine. Yeah, that's all right. Okay, emotions. Before just starting the session today, we were talking about emotions. Subhashri, I and Maria were talking about what emotions are. What are these emotions? Anybody can unmute.
Feelings. It's a feeling that we exhibit. I mean, நமக்குள்ள ஏற்படுற உணர்ச்சியை வெளிப்படுத்துற ஒரு விதம்.
Okay, நமக்குள்ள இருக்கிற உணர்ச்சிகள். ஏதான ஒரு சிச்சுவேஷன் இருக்கும்போது நமக்குள்ள அது என்ன உணர்ச்சிகள், நமக்குள்ள என்ன அந்த எமோஷன் அண்ட் ஃபீலிங்ஸ் வருதோ, that is what is an emotional action. Correct?
Right.
Okay, on that note, I'm going to share something really interesting. Okay, Subhashri, you're on my screen. Just let me know if you're able to see the video. Okay, so let's just play a little game. Now the video that you're going to see, is everybody able to see? Subhashri, can you unmute?
Yeah.
All right, great. So ipo number video paakla, and we'll just try to recognize emotions. Okay, I love animation, so this hence an animation movie called Inside Out. In case ninga paaklenna, do watch it. It's available on all OTT platforms. It's a great movie to sit with your kids and watch, by the way. So let's just see what we are able to recognize. Okay, and every time you're able to recognize an emotion, just give a 1 point to yourself, just to your own self, right? Okay. You get, we saw 3 emotions. 3 on 3, anybody? Everybody, 3 on 3. Aparna, Steffi, Subhashri, great, okay.
Yes.
Maria, okay, great. So everybody got 3 on 3, which is great. You're recognizing emotions, right? But the problem comes when, this is nice to see that you're angry, you're showing angry, you are, but where is the real hiccup?
Oh, actually, once she has done the work, relaxed mood, at the same time, excited, she spilled the milk. So
right. No. And in the video pati kekla, I'm just asking in general. Yeah, that's
sorry.
true. No, that's true. That's true. I agree what you're saying with the movie.
Sometimes எல்லாத்துக்கும் அது நடக்குது இல்லையா? ஐயோ அப்பா அப்படிட்டு.
Right. Correct. So அதே மாதிரி அந்த analogy எடுத்துக்கலாம். She spilled the milk and it fell down and she was so sad. And she was crying and the sadness emotion inside her was actually crying. Tears were coming out like that, right? And she was expressing that emotion. What if she did not express it the way that it has to be expressed?
She'll become depressed.
She may not become depressed, but when you do not know to recognize your emotions, when you do not know to be aware about what's happening inside this whole mind body of yours, we go into a zone of getting dysregulated. Right? Yeah, Aparna, you have a question or are you saying something?
No. I just have a small disturbance here.
All right. So when we do not become aware about what's happening inside us, or when we become aware and we choose to avoid and do not express it appropriately or do not take actions to regulate the emotions, that's when the trouble begins. That is why tapping in is important, right? To understand where you are with your emotion at that point in time, not only before you go into any the setting of the TNPN project, but in any way. Am I ready for what I'm going to face now? It's an important process. It is an important part of being self-aware, right? Because like it says here, emotions help us to evaluate the experience and respond appropriately. Okay. Right. We just covered this, why we need to recognize emotion. It looks like really it's hard, right? It's very hard to recognize emotion. It's easy to recognize you're angry, you're sad and all of that. But then what happens when you are in mixed emotions? When there is fear and anger? What happens when you are anxious and there is fear, right? All of these emotions are complex. It is important to point out what's happening in your mind. Is it really hard work? Let's find out. Now, when something is triggering you or something makes you feel uncomfortable, something is bringing out a negative emotion. When I say negative emotion, probably, for example, is an anger. For example, I'm saying how you think affects the way how you feel. We already did this. For 12 hours, this is what we did with Dr. Najia, right? Everybody's smiling with Dr. Najia's session because 12 hours we only did about helpful and unhelpful emotions and helpful and unhelpful consequences, right? Yes, it's when we can be aware about what our thoughts are and be aware about what feelings those thoughts are generating within us. How does one understand about thoughts, feelings? We are no psychologists to start introspection, right? Right? The answer is in your body. Your body, your vessel. Dan Siegel, one of my most favorite speakers, அவர் சொல்றாரு, your body reacts to your emotions even before your brain does. So the body reacts to or gives a inkling to what's happening with your emotion even before you feel or you are able to give it awareness in your cognitive, in your mind, right? How does this happen? When you are really angry, what happens? Palpitation, mouth goes dry, voice high pitch agudhu, katti pesrom, or we throw something, our external body becomes really aware or becomes really agda ilya. Or a small child, right? When a small child feels very sad about something, ice cream vaangi thara matten appdinu sollumbodhu அப்படியே கீழே போய் becomes very sad. Even before the tears come out, the body comes in a position like that. Is there any, have you observed your own children? Have you observed your own self? Right? When I get very angry, I have this weird feeling right above my navel, as if there is one big grinding machine going. I actually feel that vibration, right? It's where the core actually starts responding to the emotion inside you. The body speaks to you. Acknowledge it. Accept it. Then work on it. It's not as difficult as it seems, right? Emotions recognize pannano, the regulate pannano, it's not as difficult as it seems. We already are a storehouse of a lot of emotions. All we need to do is acknowledge that I am feeling a little discomfort right now emotionally. My body is responding probably with a reaction. There's a vibration. I'm feeling that I'm feeling a little chilly right now because of my anger or the fear. So what do? I do something called regulation, right? So before we move on, I wanted to do a practice, right? So this space, na munadiye sonne, this is a learning space, and learning cannot happen if you're not ready to share and be vulnerable. By vulnerable, I mean ready to absorb and take, and also ready to give, right? Recent, probably in the past 2 weeks, think of any episode, any situation where you have felt emotionally difficult. Something that has triggered you to gain a negative emotion. Take probably 30 seconds. Think about a situation. Right? Okay. In the chat below, think of the situation that triggered you or caused you a difficult situation, a difficult emotion. What were the first, how did you become aware that you are feeling, first of all, did you become aware that you're feeling a negative emotion like anger, pain, hurt, guilt, jealousy? Did you become aware about having that emotion? If yes, type yes. If no, type no, because it's just for our own introspection. If you are not aware, it's not a bad thing. We are just going to start being more aware. That's all. Yes. Right. So what was the first response of your body, or did you observe thank you. What was the first observation that you had in your body when there was the difficult emotion?
பிசிக்கலா விட எமோஷனலா தான் ஆங்கர், கோவம் வந்தது.
கோவம் வரும்போது எப்படி அது கோவம் என்ன உங்க உடம்பு என்ன பண்ணிச்சு? கோவம் எங்க இருந்தது உடம்புல? அப்படி கேக்குறேன். கோவம் எங்க வருது? டியர்ஸ்ல? ஓகே.
நோ, நாட் டியர்ஸ். ஆக்சுவலா இது பியூர்லி எமோஷனல். ஏன்னா என்னோட டாட்டர் வந்து 2 times என்ன பண்ணிட்டா, நெயில்ஸ வந்து பிச்சுட்டா, டோல இருக்கிற நெயில. சோ 2 வாட்டி நான் வந்து குவைட்டா சொன்னேன், பண்ணாத. 3வது தடவை சொல்லும் போது எனக்கு கோவம் வந்துடுது. ஐ கிவ் ஹர், அவளை அடிக்க கூடாதுன்னு நினைப்பேன், ஆனா அடிச்சுட்டேன். என் கூட பேசாத, அதுதான். நான் இவ்ளோ நான் பார்த்து நீ வந்து நான் சொல்றத கேட்க மாட்டேங்கிற.
ஓகே, ரைட். I completely, I have a 11-year-old.
எனக்கு வந்துட்டு பாடி எங்க இருந்தது அப்படின்றது எனக்கு தெரியல. எனக்கு அதுக்கப்புறம் இன்னைக்கு 4th டைமா பண்ணும்போது அவகிட்ட எனக்கு ஒரு 2 கத்தினேன். that I shouldn't shout like that, but
அது வந்து அந்த உணர்ச்சிங்க, அழுதி, tears. That is a physical, that's a physical way of expression. Right? So tearsல வந்தது. அது அப்படியே தலையில அப்படியே ஒரு பெரிய பாரம் மாதிரி இருக்கிறது. சில பேருக்கு வந்து தொண்டையில வந்து கத்துற மாதிரி ஒரு constricted feeling. இங்க வலிக்குது, shoulders வலிக்குது, joints வலிக்குது. These are all manifestations of some sort of a difficult emotion which we are probably not being aware of. So na first enna sonne, I said that it is easy to recognize. It is I wouldn't say easy, but it is easier to recognize.
Yes, it's true. I'm not able to cook, or I'm not, அதாவது என்னால பிசிக்கலா போய் வேலை பார்க்க முடியல, even though I'm mentally prepared to do this work, that work, but not able to do. Now I got your point. ஏன்னா எனக்கு நான் நிறைய வாட்டி நான் ஃபீல் பண்ணியிருக்கேன். ஒரு நெகட்டிவ் இது பண்ண உடனே I was not able to do anything.
Right.
So அது வந்து நானே இது எதனால, can you என்ன சொல்றது, இத எப்படி நான் சேஞ்ச் பண்ணிக்கிறது?
இது நீங்க சேஞ்ச் பண்ணிக்கிறதுன்னு நினைக்கும் போதே you are already half you're half path, right? So that's great. So it is very 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 human for us to feel emotions. நம்ம emotions இருக்கிறதுனால தான் நம்ம humans, நம்ம எக்ஸ்பிரஸ் பண்றதுனால தான் நம்ம humans. அதனால acknowledge that you feel all the time, you emote all the time, right? சில triggers வந்து நம்மளுக்கு நெகட்டிவ் எமோஷன் கொடுக்கலாம், சிலது பாசிட்டிவ் எமோஷன் கொடுக்கலாம். பட் there are methods which we can use to regulate our system. This is a answer to Amuda's question. இது நம்ம எப்படி இது பண்ணிக்கலாம் அப்படின்னா, கோவம் வரும்போது நம்ம தன்னைத்தானே ரெகுலேட் பண்ணிக்க முடியும். When we become aware about the emotion, when we say, hey, this is a difficult emotion, Amuda, this is a difficult emotion, Aparna, Bunny, just calm down for 2 minutes. Okay, probably just take a breath. Okay, ground yourself. There are many techniques. We're just going to do one technique here. I've shared screen. Can you see it, Subhashri? Yes. So this is also going to be one practice that we will be using with the nurses when you all go to the hospital setting. This is something called the flashcards. This is a part of the toolkit, right? So we're going to practice it, right? So adanala ipo everybody who is lying down or who is just watching like this, just come to a position which is comfortable, which is erect, or when you're completely lying down in a more assertive position where you are able to maintain balance. Your feet is grounded, or you have some connection with the ground right now. right? The long exhale is extremely easy and very simple and very effective regulating practice, right? Amuda, this is for you. Inhale பண்றது, we will do it in 4 counts, and when we exhale for 6 counts, right? Inhale 2 3 4, exhale 2 3 4 5 6. Inhale 2 3 4, exhale 2 3 4 5 6. Inhale 2 3 4. Now as you exhale, think of all the negative emotions leaving your body from the top, through your body, through your legs, through the ground. While doing this, if you want to just let yourself, that's all right. Nurdharava Panla, 1, inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale as you bring awareness to push it out. 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? How does it
I
feel?
did feel bit light. ஆனா இது இந்த இதெல்லாம் பண்ற அளவுக்கு
அதுதான் செல்ஃப் அவேர்னஸ் அமுதா. கோவம் வரும்போது நம்ம வந்து எக்ஸ்பிரஸ் பண்ணிடுறோம். We express in a negative way which leads to a negative consequence. நம்ம இதே ரெகுலேட் பண்ணிட்டு பாசிட்டிவ் ஓவர்டோன் பண்ணி அதே கோவத்தை நீ அதே நெயில் அவங்க ஹார்ம் பண்ணிட்டு, I am worried about you are in pain, it makes me feel bad about it அப்படின்னு கோவம் இல்லாம கன்சர்னோட சொல்லும் போது it is more regulated. It's a very good question அமுதா, because அடுத்த ஸ்லைடில் நீங்க பாருங்க, there are a list of emotions, right? இப்போ வந்து அமுதா எக்ஸாம்பிள், அமுதா, now can I take your example that you shared with us today?
Yes, sure.
Okay, so அமுதா வந்து ஒரு எக்ஸாம்பிள் கொடுத்தாங்க. Her child had twice harmed her with, herself with the nail chipping. Correct? Am I right? Is that what happened? Right?
Toe nail கையால பிச்சிட்டா.
ஆமா, which caused her pain, and you were also not feeling good about it because she was in pain, right? So நீங்க வந்து அத வந்து you have called it that it is you are very angry, right? But இப்போ நம்ம
என்னன்னா, excuse me, actually என்னன்னா, she under upper limbs are okay, lower limbsல அவளுக்கு ஃபீலிங்ஸ் கொஞ்சம் லெஸ்ஸா இருக்கு. அதனால அதுல ஏதாவது இது பண்ணா அவளுக்கு தெரியாது ஃபீலிங். அதனால she is emotionally என்ன நீ தனியா விட்டுட்டு போயிட்ட, இந்த ரூம்ல இருந்து நீ என்ன விட்டுட்டு போயிட்ட, அதனால நான் அத பண்றேன். சோ அப்ப வந்து அவளுக்கே அவ இது பண்ணிக்கிறா. ஆனா that makes me sad.
It makes you sad. Okay, so did you see that there is a shift in the emotion? நீங்க முதல்ல வந்து கோவம் வந்தது அப்படின்னு சொன்னீங்க. இப்போ now you're saying sad. So let's stick with sad. sad.
அது வந்து கோவம் வந்து என்னன்னா, அவளுக்கு வந்து என்ன வந்து கோவப்படுத்தணும், என்ன வருத்தப்பட வைக்கணும், நீ எப்பனா என்ன விட்டுட்டு போகாத அப்படிங்கறத அவ சொல்ல வரா. பட் சம்டைம்ஸ் எனக்கு ஒரு 5 minutes I have to go out, I have to cook. அப்பா அவ தனியா இருக்கும்போது ஏன்னா அவளையும் தூக்கின்னு போ அப்படிம்பாங்க. எல்லா டைமும் நான் அதை பண்ண முடியல. It is difficult. So okay, you carry on.
So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that experience, and thank you for offering to be vulnerable to share that experience. It really appreciated. இப்போ நம்ம அந்த இன்சிடென்ட் எடுத்துக்கலாம் for explaining what we are trying to get here is, நம்ம ஜென்ரலி எமோஷன் வந்து எனக்கு செம்ம கோவம் வந்துருச்சு இன்னைக்கு அப்படின்னு we just brand it as கோவம். பட் அது உண்மையாவே கோவமா Illa, you were just irritated about it, or you were feeling offended about the situation, or just that you are feeling defensive. Like இப்போ அமுதா கேஸ்ல அவங்க வந்து கோவம்னு ஃபர்ஸ்ட் சொன்னது, அவங்க probably she's feeling very defensive about ஐயோ என் குழந்தைக்கு வலிக்குதே. It's a defensive attitude, right? It's not really anger. Anger வந்து அப்படி இப்போ அந்த கார்ட்டூன்ல நம்ம காமிச்சோம் இல்லையா, ஆங்கர் பார்த்தோம் இல்லையா, போட்டு அவ எல்லாம் அடிச்சு தூக்கி போட்டு, right? That's the level of anger, right? இப்போ ஆங்கிரி அப்படின்னு சொன்னா we only think of the top level of செம்ம, அப்படியே மூளை அப்படியே பிரெயின் வாஸ் சூப்பர் ஹீட் ஆயிடுச்சு. நம்ம விஜய் டைலாக்ல அப்படியே மேல அப்படியே இதாயிடுச்சு, அப்படியே சூடாயிடுச்சுன்னா அப்படின்னு ஒரு கில்லின்னு நினைக்கிறேன். ரீசெண்டா we saw that movie, right? So in Bombay they call it atta maji sataki. அதாவது you just lose it, right? That's anger. But every time, is that the emotion? Probably not, right? I was feeling so sad because she was in pain. I was feeling sad because I was feeling tearful. I was feeling depressed. I was just disappointed because she was just not understanding my predicament, that I had to go out. Probably Amuda did not feel sad, but probably she felt disappointed about the situation. Probably she did not feel angry, but probably she felt defensive. Now, this is an excellent tool to even practice with your children, right? Improving an emotional vocabulary is an important part of parenting, where you can actually teach. So I do this a lot, right? So when my husband and I are having an argument and he says, "Ellakku nee kopadrana," I say, "No, this is not anger. I'm just irritated." And then he'll say, "Ama, nee oru periya list edutittu vandruva, dictionary vechi da unkitta pesanu appadina." It's actually being assertive and building a vocabulary. Now let's go back to the same emotion that we spoke about, the negative emotion or the difficult emotion that you were having in your mind before we did the long exhale. We talked about regulation. Can you change or use another term for the intensity of that emotion, whatever that emotion is? If you can, give me a thumbs up, virtually or physically. If you could not, that's okay. We will come back, circle back and do it again later whenever you're ready. The emotion which triggered you.
To explain it once again, Smita.
We spoke about it triggering.
Yeah, even
emotion.
I don't get you, ma'am. Can you repeat?
Right. Just a few minutes back, we spoke about a situation or a negative incident which triggered you in the past, a difficult emotion, right? We just spoke about it, right? A difficult emotion and regulating it. And then we spoke about then we did the long exhale. When the difficult emotion, pati namba yosichom illaya, and the difficult emotion, திருப்பி போங்க, revisit that emotion. உங்க மைண்ட்ல அந்த எமோஷனுக்கு என்ன பேர் வச்சீங்க? கோவமா, சேடா, ஆங்ஷியஸா, ஃபியரா, ஹர்ட்டா, எம்பாரஸ்டா? அந்த மாதிரி இருந்ததுன்னா அதோட இன்டென்சிட்டி எவ்வளோன்னு இப்போ இருக்கிற இந்த டேபிள பார்த்து சொல்லுங்க. சப்போஸ் யூ ஆர் ஆங்கிரி, were you really angry or were you just irritated, or were you just defensive, were you just annoyed, or were you just impatient about something not happening which made you angry? See if you can use any of these words in your mind for that emotion. Why do we need to use a different word? Well, answer is very simple. When there is a negative thought, there is a negative feeling, there is a negative consequence, there is a negative impact on the body. Even if we can shift that negativity by 15% by self-talking, that I was not angry, I was just irritated about this incident, the consequence will shift. Right? Excellent tool to work with children, will be available to you in case you want to use as a reference. Right. Okay. Before we go on to this slide, we started 8 minutes late. So can I take that 8 minutes? Can I end at definitely by 4:40? Will that be okay?
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. So we spoke about இவங்க கரீனா கபூர் பத்தி பேசணும், கேட் மிடில்டன் பத்தி பேசணும். ஓஹோ, அவங்க வந்து they are the epitome of motherhood. அவங்க எவ்வளவு சீக்கிரம் they lost weight. ஹரிதா செஷன்ல நிறைய பேர் பேசணும். we could all relate with each other. எல்லாரும் கை தூக்கினோம். ஆமா எப்படி பண்ணாங்க, because of which we feel நம்மளால முடியலையா, அவங்களால முடியுது, right? All of that. ஏன் நம்ம அப்படி நினைக்கிறோம்? we just spoke about it, right? நம்மளோட பிலீஃப் சிஸ்டம்ல நம்ம யோசிக்கிறோம் அந்த மாதிரி அவங்க அல்டிமேட் லைஃப் இருக்கு அவங்களுக்கு அப்படின்ட்டு, ரைட்? ஒரு சின்ன கேள்வி before we go on with this next part of the last part is, நீங்க வந்து உங்களை மீறி இன்னொருத்தர், or let me ask it this way, what was the age in which your child started what was the age, not your child, yourself, what was the age when you yourself started comparing your looks with another person? நான் இப்படி ஆரம்பிக்கிறேன், மேலே இருந்து கீழே ஆரம்பிக்கிறேன். என்ன ஏஜ்ல, இல்ல what height were you when you started comparing your looks with somebody? இப்ப நீங்க எழுந்து காட்டுனா கூட காட்டலாம். நான் what was your height, what was your age, height, how old were you? You don't have to tell me age, even the height would be okay. When you started comparing yourself with another person in terms of looks.
No, height எல்லாம் இல்ல, ஹைட்ட பத்தி கவலைப்படல, பட் வெயிட் வந்து after giving birth.
Right, no, what was the age? What was the age?
ஏஜ் எல்லாம் சொன்னா இப்ப இருக்கிற என்னோட ஏஜும் தெரியும்ல.
இல்ல அமுதா அப்படி சொல்ல வரல.
இல்ல அமுதா, நீங்க அது எப்ப நீங்க யோசிச்சீங்க, எந்த
first time in your life
உங்களோட ஹைட் என்னன்னு கேக்குறேன்.
first time in your life நீங்க வந்து டோரா பார்த்து டோரா is better than me, இல்ல Trisha is better than me, what was the narrative? I have no looks wise, just ஒரு எக்ஸாம்பிள் தான் கேக்குறேன். எந்த ஏஜ்ல உங்களுக்கு அது ஆரம்பிச்சது அந்த தாட்? ஜஸ்ட் ஒரு ரேண்டமா தான் கேக்குறேன்.
சாரி, எனக்கு அப்படி தாட் இல்ல. நான் வந்து ஸ்லிம் ஆகல, வெயிட் கெயின் ஆயிட்டேன். I couldn't recognize myself. அதான் நான் திங்க் பண்ணேன். வேற நான் கம்பேர் பண்ணல அப்படி இல்ல. I'm bestன்னு தான் நான் திங்க் பண்ணிக்கிறேன்.
That's very good. You should give yourself a hug and applaud. Tap yourself for that. Yes, Steffi, you were saying something.
Yeah, when I was 11 years old, I'm not sure, but 11 years old, I used to compare myself with my friends who are fair, who have good hair and good appearance. So but
what made you think that? Sorry, I am stopping you there, but what made you think that
maybe
that's
because
better
I'm not, as you when the section started, you said we keep comparing ourselves, like I'm not like her, I'm not
because in your mind the benchmark of beauty or the epitome of beauty
be like her, but then when I see another person more attractive and beautiful than her, again my thought keeps on shifting. Okay, this girl looks good, let me I wanted to be like that. But now after my schooling, I actually didn't focus much on my appearance. I stopped comparing myself with others, and I started to learn.
That's great.
That I'm the best. Yes,
that's great that you explicitly stop comparing. But whenever you see some person, probably you see a magazine and all of that, anybody, like even when I see Vogue, I'm like, how the hell are they so thin, right? How the hell are they able to have a family? We do that, it's fine, it's perfectly all right to acknowledge.
It happens, right? But not the intense level, as you said.
Absolutely correct. Probably not in the intense level that is self-harming, but yes, right, we do feel like that. But why do we feel like that? Hold that thought. We do feel like that. அதனால இப்போ just hold that thought. ஒரு சின்ன கேள்வி. இப்போ இந்த ரெண்டு பேர் இருக்காங்க, நீங்க வந்து சினிமா பார்க்க மாலுக்கு போறீங்க, அண்ட் உங்க பொண்ணுக்கு உங்களுக்கு வந்து you have to use the washroom, right? வாஷ்ரூம்ல இந்த ரெண்டு லேடிஸ் இருக்காங்க, right? Which lady will you ask to help you to say keep the child for just 2 minutes till you use the washroom and come? Which lady will you approach?
The one with Sari.
Anybody else?
One who looks more responsible or trust பண்ண மாதிரி
இருக்கிறவங்க. அதுதான் யாரையும் கேக்குறேன், ரைட்டா லெஃப்டா?
Me, right.
Right for you.
கமெண்ட்ஸ்ல கூட இருக்கு ஸ்மிதா, சாரி.
சாரி.
No, why not the other girl? Why not the other girl? Because at times
that's not. I'm not asking on the why. I'm just choosing what. What dan kekra. Which one? What kuda kekla. Which among the two dan kekra. Okay, so we got more response for the saris. Okay, thank you for that. Right? Why? Because we hold an unconscious bias towards something or somebody or some person who is different from who we are. Right? Amuda just shared her experience or her present situation where she's probably taking a primary caregiver of a child who needs her care. She must be facing a lot of these biased biased looks or in any form when she goes out with her kid. We don't know her story, right? So, right? Or when we see somebody from the LGBTQ, we have our own reservations, right? Ade Kamal Hassan Vishwarupathla irukardum Kaka Kakalayo, some other movie there's a difference, right? Right? We feel that if he's too effeminate, we don't like that person. But when the moment he becomes an action hero, we're like, now his action is very nice. It's a bias, right? And there's nothing to blame about a bias. It's not that, you have a bias and it's a bad thing. What is important is that you build an awareness towards what the belief system is. And that is very important to build self-awareness. If you're able to understand that probably I'm biased towards a girl who wears fashionable clothes. Probably I'm biased I start thinking that I don't have trust on that girl to leave my child. She doesn't look responsible. These are all biases. You didn't see that the lady in the sari was responsible or not. She didn't save your life. Right? But this is a unconscious bias that we do because we feel that probably that person, the way they look, their body language is not good enough to take care of my child. And that's a bias. Right? Now, I'm not saying that having a bias is incorrect or not. We are not judging. We are not making any judgment, which is again a bias. So we will not make any judgment. What we are trying to say is become aware if there is a person or if you are self-talking biases to yourself. Now, biases will be there because we are all brought up in a cultural setting which is different and unique from each other. The way I have been brought up will not be the same as how Maria and Subhashri and Steffi have been brought up. Our conditioning will be different. Our exposure has been different, right? Acknowledge that there may be instances where I might develop a bias. There will be an urge to immediately start judging. Be aware of it and see if you can overcome that instance, if it is going to affect you in a negative way, right? So what I was trying to tell Steffi, I said why, and I said hold that thought. Adapati pesla. Number core belief if we keep thinking that we are not good enough, I'm not as good looking as how that other lady could manage, how she could shed so much weight after the baby, and I'm not able to do it. You are by itself making an ideal self of that person. You don't know her story. You don't know what backstory she has, right? But when you accept it, when you accept that, yes, this is the way I am, but I can reach to this level or maybe even better than that, there is where the growth happens. Right? So here is a piece where we acknowledge that every person is an individual. Everybody has to be treated with respect and understanding, regardless of how they look, their religion, their caste, their gender preferences. We accept them. So I am not using the word like, I'm using the word accept. We may judge people's behavior, but we should not judge the person themselves. Does that ring a bell to people who attended Dr. Najia's session? Right? A behavior is in unhelpful thinking, unhelpful feeling, unhelpful consequence in action. But the person is not wrong. Situation is wrong. Their thinking is wrong. But the person itself, you cannot blame or say that, oh, they are absolute worthless human beings. You can't say that. The key is acceptance. Right? So this is one slide, which an interesting slide, which so many of us must have had these experiences, right? Was there any gender bias? Was there any bias professionally? Were you treated differently as a girl? Right? These are questions that, I mean, if you towards the end of the session, if you feel like sharing, if it has kindled the need to share, please do towards the end of the session. But these are things that you can think of. Was there a bias? Have you been a witness of bias? Right? And like circling back to what Maria said at the start of the session, let's not extend that bias through us. Let's become more aware. Let's be more accepting and conquer this. And all we need to is just accept. Right? I did not use the word lie. We're only talking about acceptance. And that acceptance will come when you become aware of a bias. If we are not going to be aware about the bias, we will never ever make an attempt to change it. It's impossible, right? Right. Something to take away: the ability to understand and recognize one's own and others' feelings, thoughts, and action. This is what self-awareness is all about, right? Just to give you a proper definition to what it is. Right. Now coming to the next and the last part of the, what is growth mindset? Okay, before we go to these slides, anybody? Yes, I hear somebody unmuting. Yes, please.
How positively we grow into our minds, having a positive approach.
Having a positive approach, a set of belief system that will direct a positive growth behavior, all very true. Very simply, I'll explain with one small story. Okay. This is an incident, probably many people have heard it. There's this Bangalore incident where an person probably was visiting Bangalore. This was in the blogs also. He mentioned about going into an auto and being mind blown by the auto. Right? The auto, the moment he entered, had Wi-Fi. It had a stack of magazines, very beautifully set up. And there was a choice of water, mineral water, and cold and normal temperature. There were tissues, there were sanitizers in that setting. The moment he came and sat in the auto driver's auto, the auto driver turned and instead of just doing enga pono and are you comfortable? Can I, through the journey, would you like to read a newspaper? Venuma padikringla? Tamil newspaper enkita 3 language newspaper irukku. Tamil, English and Kannada la irukku. Neenga endha newspaper padipinga? Neenga sanitizer use pannirkingla? Sanitizer offer pandren. I will, there is a Wi-Fi enabled Wi-Fi password venuma for no cost. So this passenger was mind blown. அவர் கேட்டாரு, நீ வெறும் ஆட்டோ தானே ஓட்டுற, நீ ஆட்டோல இவ்வளோ விஷயம்லாம் வச்சிருக்கியே, நீ என்ன எக்ஸ்ட்ராவா சார்ஜ் பண்ணுவியான்னு ஃபர்ஸ்ட் கேட்டா. ஹியூமன் மைண்ட் நோ, ஃபர்ஸ்ட் உட்காந்த உடனே இதனா எக்ஸ்ட்ரா சார்ஜ் பண்ணுவியா அப்படின்னு கேட்டிருக்காரு. ஆட்டோ டிரைவர் சொன்னா, இல்ல நான் ஒன்னும் எக்ஸ்ட்ரா சார்ஜ் பண்ண போறது இல்ல, எனக்கு இது பண்ண பிடிக்கும், this is what I want to do, இது எனக்கு பிடிச்சிருக்கு அதனால பண்றேன் அப்படின்னு. So then the person gets into the auto and he actually writes about the experience that, how through the journey, அவர் he said that எனக்கு வேண்டாம், நியூஸ் பேப்பர் படிக்க வேண்டாம், so அவர் can I talk to you அப்படின்னா through the journey அவரோட பேசிட்டு வந்துட்டு இருக்காரு. So what a perfect journey it was in Bangalore. And Bangalore is a very crowded, traffic jam நிறைய இருக்கும். So I'm assuming they got a lot of time to hang out with each other and actually talk, because of which he actually wrote that article. So the interest is not about the auto, the interest is about the auto driver. What must have prompted that person to give an amazing experience to his passenger? The growth mindset. He could have been another auto driver and said, enga pono, and just rode off, constantly talking on the phone, and the passenger always feeling scared that in the next signal police will catch him for using the phone. He could have done that, but the auto driver chose to give the passenger a different experience only because he held a positive belief about what he was doing. And that was extending towards what his services were and how he was interacting with the people, his passengers, and created an apt setting for his passengers, creating an experience. This is what he said. I loved the way that the blog writer had written that he wanted to give me an experience of an auto drive or of an auto ride, right? So growth mindset is all about when you are curious to do something more than what you're doing, when you are ready to listen more, learn more, accept how the situation is. Be okay with feedbacks. Be okay with positive feedbacks. And be ready that we are not aiming for perfection. It is the connection. The intent is the connection and not the perfection. There is a keenness to learn. There is where the growth mindset is. And it is something very easy for us to embrace. Carol Dweck talks at length about fixed and the growth mindset. So this is just a comparative picture. So when challenges are given to a person, do they embrace the challenges or do they avoid it? What do? You don't have to answer it in the forum today, but this is just for self-introspection. When there is a criticism, suppose at the end of the session, one of you has have to tell me that, oh, this was so not done, Smita, this is not a great session. I have to be open to that criticism and say, hey, yeah, probably, yeah, tell me what to improve, rather than say, okay, can I talk to you later? I don't want to hear you right now. That's not a growth mindset, right? Why is a growth mindset important? Because a growth mindset will always aim or help us towards being a better version of ourselves. Do you want this for your kids? Every single day when you tell your children that, be curious, ask questions, stop watching the mobile, instead do something to. So we are basically asking them to have a growth mindset. So the more we have, the more we engage, the more children will be encouraged to do it. Now, how do we do it? Simple. The simple way to develop a growth mindset is to do very simple things. Can you see the screen? Okay. How do we develop a growth mindset? Very simple activities. Having organized timetable about what you're going to do, learning something new, probably an instrument, maintaining a journal, journaling your thoughts, maintaining a calendar of events, working out strategies to do your work. Now, can you see this slide? So there's this one person which says that with hard work, strategy and inputs from others, I can grow my talent. And I'm only capable of so much. I'm afraid others will find out that I'm not capable enough and I will not ask them for their help. So which is a growth mindset?
What if these two types of mindset got married? I'm sorry.
That's a topic for a separate discussion. Right? Right? It's a topic for separate discussion. We'll discuss that some other day, probably in person. But clearly the person who feels that they can grow my talent is the person with the growth mindset, right? Okay, random question. Can anybody spot the bias here? Is there a bias?
Yes.
There is a bias. Anybody else other than Maria? If yes, say yes on chat. What's the bias?
Confining into oneself, within ourself, for that particular person. Right. I feel that is the bias.
finding into oneself. Okay, so I'm asking you to look at the picture, the slide in front of you, and I'm hoping you're able to see the slide. There's this girl here who
she's
says
modern and she's
yeah, is there a bias? There is,
இப்போ
isn't
இந்த
it?
அந்த
So
லாஸ்ட்
that means that ஒரு growth mindset இருக்கணும்னா அவங்க வந்து they should be like upkeep வந்து இப்படி இருக்கும், சூப்பரா மாடர்னா இருக்கும். And a person who is fat and dark will never have a growth mindset. அவங்க வந்து they'll self destruct themselves and go into a their own nutshells, in their own shells, right? That's a bias. This is not true. The slide was purposely put here so that people ask what the bias is.
Personal apologies, Smita. Like when you slide போட்டதுல இருந்து என்னோட ஃபர்ஸ்ட் எப்படி மிஸ் பண்ணாங்க எப்படி இதுவாச்சு இருக்காதே
I'm glad you thought that. That's great, right?
I wasn't even able to concentrate what you were saying. I was just this is what was going in my mind. How did this happen?
Probably I should have addressed the question first. That's a good feedback, Maria. Probably I should have addressed the question first.
You mentioned that it was made it as a purpose. I'm glad.
Right. That's a great feedback, right? That's a good positive feedback. Probably next time when we do this, when you use this, people who are going to use this presentation to actually implement the CGM with the caregiver module, self-awareness with the nurses, probably address this first and put people like Maria out of misery and questions, right? Right? Okay. That's a good one. Yeah. Right? Okay. So when there is a growth mindset, when there is an acceptance that I'm ready to learn, I will learn something new, try something new. What actually happens in the brain is very little. I'll just tell you in one statement. There's something called neuroplasticity, where the brain keeps generating new cells and increasing its capacity when we learn something new, right? So that's what neuroplasticity is one of the things that is highly recommended today for everybody who is above 40-45 to learn something new. To all of these white hat junior coming with adult music courses and piano classes and dance classes. I myself run dance classes for adults, right? So what we basically say is, we are saying that when you learn something new, your brain keeps rewiring, reinventing itself, accommodating more and more information. Now when that happens, you also become extremely efficacious in what we do. Let's ask ourselves these questions. You don't have to answer it. This is just for your own understanding, your own learning. Do we have the skills and the willingness to learn? Do we have the willingness to make a commitment? Can we organize the resources with our own help and help from others to create something important and make an impact? Right. So I'm going to stop share here like I promised, and I'm right on time with 1 minute to spare. Thank you for giving me the extra time. This is one part of the entire module of building awareness, building interpersonal, intrapersonal awareness, interpersonal awareness, of building regulation, emotional regulation. This is just one part of what we did today. The part 2 of this will be on the next Friday. So at that time, probably you will get a more comprehensive view of, emotions, recognize panniyachu, I'm aware, but then what do I do with it? I'm regulated, all of that. I know I feel that this is what I can do. What do I do with that? Right? You'll get a wholesome view probably towards the next second part, where we'll also be talking about a lot about self-preservation, building your own self-care tool, right? Now, just to the whole session today was only to build awareness, was only to create start asking the right questions to yourself, start saying positive, having positive conversations with yourself, right? That was the intention of today's session. On that note, Maria will be sending 2 links, right? They are not links like the ones that you usually get, which are the forms or the assessment ones, but they are links to websites where you can, if you spend just 5 to 10 minutes, you'll be getting 2 links. One for finding out if you have a growth mindset or a fixed mindset or a mix of both. And the second link is about giving more awareness about your strengths and weaknesses, right? It's my request for all of you to do this in the 1 week that we have. From this Friday to next Friday, we have 6 days. இந்த 6 நாள்ல அந்த லிங்க்ஸ் போட்டு நீங்களே immediately it will give you an evaluation. It's very interesting. If you can just spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes for every link, it will probably take 15 minutes of your time. So நீங்க அதை பண்ணி நீங்களே பாருங்க. You will see the results will be very interesting. I was very motivated, right, when I was doing this thing. So this is something which I would really like all of you to do. Right now, this is a point where we stopped the presentation. So if there is any sharing, any question, anything that you want to talk about, did it strike a chord? It's great if you can share right now. Let us know what you felt about the whole thing, or what are the key takeaways. What are the 3 things that you really connected with today? And the 3 விஷயங்கள் என்ன உங்களுக்கு ரொம்ப கனெக்ட் ஆனது, இல்ல நீங்க இந்த செஷன்ல இருந்து எடுத்துட்டு போறது? What are the 3 things? Anybody?
Have good conversation with yourself first.
And have a good conversation with yourself.
And talk to yourself as if that you're talking to your own child. Talk positive things. That was very good. And I understood the body always speaks to you before your brain reacts to something. Those things was very interesting.
Okay, thank you, Subhashri. Anybody else? Something that rang a bell? Yes?
Yeah, yes. When we are angry, how to control the anger? I mean, regulate it.
Right, okay.
But yeah,
super.
It's really useful. I feel light also after doing that exercise. I mean, and also
so glad.
That inhale out exhale exercise is actually very, very useful to everyone here. And either not only for us, I really strongly recommend that our kids, right, when they are angry, or for instance they want to tell us something but they're unable to tell us, give them a minute, ask them to breathe. I do that
and use the emotional vocabulary.
Yes, that's very, very important for the kids. That's very important for the kids.
Right?
Any age, even if they are 16 right now, kindly use it on
definitely them. Because dichotomous thinking, extremes la think pandrathu, good and bad and think pandrathu, it has become the way of how the children are these days.
Yes,
right.
Kids,
so this is actually a help.
They have this habit of running into their bedrooms if they are angry. Talk to them, ask them to have conversation, ask them to let them argue, but put their points right. Appo vanda the vocabulary gets built up.
Right.
This is my serious recommendation to all the parents.
Perfect. That's very, very, very good. What you're saying, you're bringing forth is extremely important. I completely agree with you. But to do all of that, what needs to be done with yourself? நம்மளே என்ன பண்ணிக்கணும்? நம்மளே ரெகுலேட் பண்ணாதானே நம்ம இதெல்லாம் செய்ய முடியும். நம்மளும் ஒரு உச்ச இதுல நம்மளும் கத்திட்டு அப்புறம் அதுவும் கத்திட்டு அப்புறம் 2 பேரும் கத்தினா then it's just going to be chaotic, right?
Yeah. You do that first and then kindly ask the kids also to give them a practice adilla.
Right.
And I'm happy every day since I'm like this is something subject is very new to me. Every day I'm learning new stuff. Every day I'm learning it. Thanks for the opportunity.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you, Aparna. So happy to hear that from you. We're very happy to have you. You've been a very active participant. Really appreciate you being here. Right.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. Is there anything? Yeah, Aparna wants to say something. Anybody else? All right. It was
We
great.
will have private discussion about when two persons married with different attitudes.
Definitely.
Don't forget. Okay.
Definitely. I won't forget. I will not forget. And definitely do let me know how I can extend myself to you. And I'll be as much as possible. Definitely, I will give my best shot. Right.
Okay,
Thank you, Amoda. So thank you, everybody, for being here and patiently hearing me out. Okay, so we have somebody here. Steffi had to leave. No problem. So thank you, everybody, for being here. This is part one of the emotional awareness and introduction to the concept of caregiving. So the next part is on Friday, and I'm very happy that all of you interacted and were